Village of Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, September 20th is called to order. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Burns?
Here.
Commissioner Doorband?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Stilen, I'm present. Acting Chairman Rafato?
Here.
And Commissioner Schaaf and Chairman Maloney had given prior notice that they would not be attending this evening.
Yeah.
Are we working?
No, I don't think we are.
Uh-oh.
The microphones are not working. We will hold for a second. Ms. Jones, thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Ms. Jones, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Great, thank you. Do we have any citizen concerns and comments? Nope. We have no consent items tonight. Moving right along. Items for review, docket number PC 1222, Aviation, Atlantic Aviation 1001 South Wolf Road, minor site plan and appearance approval for modifications to landscaping. Ms. Jones?
I would invite the petitioner to step up to the podium and present the very minor modifications to the approved hangar.
Yes. What we're looking to add is on the south end of the hangar, revise the...
Could you give your name and business address?
My name's Josh Peters. I'm with Morgan Harbor Construction. My address is 10204 Wirtz Drive in Woodridge.
Thank you.
Excuse me. On the south end of the building, we would like to replace the sidewalk with 1.5 inch decorative stone. It's American Heritage, similar to the stone that is in the planters at the Wheeling Police Department, as well as add 2 maple trees on the berm.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burns.
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Stilen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I think the in the report it states that the parking area is for overflow parking, but my guess is that you're going to have people parking there, otherwise you wouldn't have built a parking lot. And, you know, come the fall or rainy times, snow times, inclement weather times, you're going to ask people potentially to walk out into the straight parking lot area. And, you know, if your intention is to replace the entire sidewalk or just or is it just the landscaped area that's immediately adjacent to the sidewalk?
It is the entire sidewalk area on the south end of the building. There's a man door up at the southwest corner.
Right, so
we'll continue to have a pad.
So people will no longer be able to use that sidewalk. Is that correct? You don't expect people to walk on the stones, do you? So, you know, I think if you're going to have parking there, that I would really want to have a sidewalk that's plowed in the winter so people can make use of it so that they can get to whatever they need to get to. As far as the tree situation, you know, I think you ought to plant trees at the recommended village stated distance of every 40 to 60 feet, and I saw somewhere in the packet material that maybe you were thinking about putting some ornamental trees in, and, you know, according to our village forester, ornamental trees should be planted, you know, at a distance as large as whatever the canopy is, which is typically every 15 to 20 feet. So, you know, I'd like you to do continue to do the trees, or if you want to go with ornamental trees, I think that would be nice, but you'd need to plant a lot more of them a lot closer together. That's my only concern, and eventually I'd like a consensus on that, Mr. Chairman, after everybody else speaks. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Concerning the parking area, you're planning on parking curb stones there too? I mean, what are there curb stops?
Yes.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the stone versus the sidewalk. The parking lot itself would be plowed, so that's not an issue. But I do agree that more trees are needed. And I think the staff recommendation is stated in the report. So I would concur with that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorban.
Thank you. I do have one question, and it may be directed at staff. On the key, if you look at it, down at the very bottom,
Okay.
all the way down on the bottom here, right here. What does that refer to when it talks about the irrigation?
Let's see if I can pull it up.
I tried to enlarge it as much as I could, but I couldn't.
Under construction notes, Commissioner Dorban?
All the way, yes, under the construction notes, all
Okay.
the way at the bottom,
Provide landscape irrigation.
right? But what is the key just to the
Oh,
immediate
number
left?
3. Oh, 3. Yeah, okay.
I see what the 4 is up there on the left.
There's a 3 there. What does that reference?
See where the 4 is under shade trees? I saw that, but I am,
The lower right, there's a key.
Let's see, 4.
It just shows that it was an addition. And in the very lower right of the plan, there's a key.
where? I obviously missed it.
Right above the date of the drawing. It's very small.
Oh, right there.
But what is it referring to?
It just says that that note was added.
I believe that was a staff comment that we made to them upon first review of the building plans. They revised it to include that landscape irrigation is required.
Okay.
And so now it's noted as number
Okay.
3.
I couldn't find it, so I just was curious. Okay. I would like to see additional landscaping. I agree with Terry on that. As far as the stones are concerned, isn't it going to be more difficult if somebody's going to use those stones to walk on? I'm like, is that the plan? Because if that's the plan, then I would think that would be harder to shovel. I'm just.
The stones aren't meant to be walked on. Mainly the south parking in that area is overflow. Really, it'll be used very few and far between. So it was a request we received from our client to have a more aesthetic detail instead of the sidewalk.
Commissioner Steilen is just talking about the fact that in that same area, apparently that's where the man door is there. Mm-hmm. All right, so where, and then how is the person going to empty the garbage? Is he going to have to walk through the stones? Is that the plan? I'm a little confused. I agree with Terry on that.
Most likely, they would go out through that apron side for removing waste from the building. We do have the hangar door and then also 2 man doors in the hangar door, which open out onto the apron. And there is a current gate, a man gate they would go through that's adjacent to the trash enclosure.
So he's actually not going to be walking on the stones at that point?
No,
Okay.
he would go
Okay.
east around the building.
Mr. Rulo, would you like to come up and say something?
Sorry, if I may assist, that south parking lot is more realistically going to be used for the southern hangar. And the people utilizing this hangar, Hangar 42, will either be parking on the west side or either inside the hangar or on the north side. They will not be utilizing the south parking lot. And in the wintertime, the snow is going to be deposited where those rocks are when they plow the area, so that sidewalk will not be able to be used. So.
Dennis, could you please give your name to our secretary?
Sorry, Dennis Rouleau, Airport Manager for Chicago Executive Airport.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think some of the confusion is that in our staff report, it indicated a walkway. And this abuts to the building, correct? So when you have a car parked there, what's the distance between the building and the car? Is it wide enough to even walk on anyway?
You have about 5 feet from the back of the curb to the building.
Okay.
So if you had a pickup truck or a large vehicle, it would be difficult to walk on.
It'd be difficult to walk on it. So it's really decorative, and your intention is in a normal parking lot that you're parking up to a building, and I'm putting words in your mouth, but you could probably say yes to anything I'm going to say right now, so it really doesn't, But it's to get out of your car, walk behind your car, walk to the parking lot, and go to that man door.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, all right. So I can see where that's coming from, because really, in reality, as Mr. Rulo also stated, that it's going to be plowed there. So I can understand that. I personally, but we'll take a poll to see what you think about that. In addition, I would like to see additional landscaping, additional trees put on Wolf Road. You've got a space 120 feet apart. We need something that's to code, so whatever that is. And as far as the landscaping goes, would it be agreeable that they work with staff to determine what should go there? And they come back to us?
We're doing that again to
Well, but to come back with us with their plan as to what's going to be put in there.
work with staff, but bring the plan back to us before it's finalized, right?
Yes, yes,
Can I speak to that, Mr. Chairman?
yes.
The proposed motion in our packet has the condition that the street trees shall be planted at the minimum caliper size and spacing as per code, as established in Title 12 and Title 19. So I think it's taken care of, and they wouldn't have to come back to us.
It is, except for the types of trees they're putting in there. We normally have a say on what types of trees go in there. And
They
and it's-
recommended maple trees, correct?
That's correct.
But they could go with some type of ornamental also, which was one of the recommendations in the staff report.
And I believe that Brooke, do we have a minimum separation distance for ornamental trees in our ordinances?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what that is offhand.
If I may comment about the trees, if at all possible, from an airport standpoint, we prefer trees that are not fruit-bearing, so as not to attract birds and so forth, so.
Okay. Sort of limits what we can put there, but I think we'd still like to, and I'll do a consensus there. So let's talk about the walkway, okay? It's either what's on the table is go with what's presented, the stone, or keep the existing sidewalk. So, Commissioner Burns.
I think the stone would look better, and that's what I'm in favor of.
Okay, Commissioner Dorban.
Stone, it's fine.
Commissioner Johnson?
Stone.
Commissioner Stylen?
I find it interesting that you're talking about the overhang of cars on the sidewalk, and it would be difficult for a person to use the sidewalk when there appears to be a door there, whether it's an emergency exit door or not, that has that same parking stall distance. As a matter of fact, there's 2 parking spots that will be immediately by that door, and if nobody is able to walk on that sidewalk by that door, then that door probably should be removed as well, because opening a door into a spot where you can't get out isn't going to be much use at all, is it? So, you know, the door was put there for a reason. There appears to be a sidewalk that's left by that door that must be usable, but the other sidewalk going down to the dumpster appears to be not usable because of the overhang of bumpers. So again, I just think a sidewalk is a sidewalk. It's there for people convenience. I think it should be there. Sidewalk doesn't cost that much. And if you need to pile snow on it, you can pile snow on a sidewalk just as easy as you can pile snow on gravel. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I'm okay with the stone. The next question we have on the table is we're all in agreement that we want additional trees and spaced according to code. The question on the table is, does the petitioner have to come back? Well, does the plan have to be presented to us before it's planted? So, Commissioner Burns.
No, if the petitioner works with staff and the trees are approved as not fruit-bearing and appropriate and spaced according to the codes, then I don't need to see the petitioner again.
Commissioner Johnson.
Likewise, I would agree.
Commissioner Stylen.
I think they should come back.
Commissioner Dorban.
I think they should come back.
I'm going to qualify this. I don't think the petitioner has to come back to us, but the plan has to be presented to us. Can we do that in just a other business saying
Sure.
This is what we're going to be planning?
We can do that.
Is that okay if it comes back to us with other business?
I just want to see it before it's finalized.
Right.
That's my issue.
Commissioner Stylen?
I want to see it and just ensure that whatever spacing that is chosen is the correct spacing, and I'm still looking for ornamental tree spacing in our ordinances, having difficulty finding it, so.
Well, the report states Title 12 requires street trees to be planted 40 to 60 feet apart depending on tree type. So it's somewhere between 40 and 60 feet.
And 40 feet for an ornamental tree is way too much different distance. They're normally 15 to 20 feet.
I'm sure staff will determine that and come back to us when we have the trees. They'll come back to us and say what that distance will be, and it will be within code.
But code would be 40 feet, which the village forester I talked to today said that 15 to 20 feet would probably be the recommended distance for an ornamental tree, whatever the size of the canopy is the recommended spacing.
Well, we've got a title that says 40 to 60 feet.
I think and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Terry, but I think what Terry is saying is that we would like to ask the petitioner to go a little bit further beyond what code requires and give us more.
I'd go with whatever the village forester were to recommend. But unless I can find, if 40 feet is the minimum distance that ornamental trees are to be installed, then I won't go for it.
Would it be acceptable to plant all shade trees along the berm and take ornamental trees off the table? And we would plant shade trees, the 40 to 60 feet or 40 feet between trees?
That'd be fine by me.
Commissioner Burns.
I'm reading this landscaping plan again in the packet. The commission may also wish to discuss whether ornamental trees could be used to fill the gaps. This was not the proposal of the petitioner. The petitioner proposed autumn maples.
120 feet apart, and we're asking him to put more in.
And that would be a condition of our approval.
Yes. And our proposal was to think about ornamental trees. The petitioner has just said, scrap the ornamental tree, I'd like to put in shade trees.
I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'm fine with the condition that's in the staff report, that the street trees along the berm shall be planted at the minimum caliper size and spacing as per code, as established in Title 12 and Title 19.
But there is a difference in the type of tree that's planted as to what the distance is. And shade trees most likely is 40 to 60 feet apart. So if we go with shade trees.
And that's what's in the code, correct?
Right. Yes.
So
Okay, great. Thank you.
if it's shade trees, that's fine.
Great. Commissioner Stylen?
As long as they're typical street trees,
Yes.
40 to 60 feet is fine.
Yes. Commissioner Dorvan?
I would agree.
And I would agree also. So, Ms. Jones, you have the condition down for that one? What are the two conditions before we make a motion here?
The condition listed in the staff report is that the street trees along the berm shall be planted at the minimum caliper size and spacing as per code, as established in Title 12 and Title 19. And then we can add a second condition that the trees may all be shade.
Will be
Shade trees?
shade
Okay.
trees. Any other comments?
Just one. As far as that man door, if it swung the other way, it would probably be easier use as an emergency exit. It would get you out to that sidewalk much easier than if you had to walk around the door to stay on the sidewalk.
I think we have some staff who can tell us that.
Interesting.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It opens to the, why don't you look at that too?
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask the fire inspector and
Ask away. Does it matter?
Brian, if an emergency door opens onto a parking lot, that's sufficient, right? It doesn't have to open towards a sidewalk when the parking lot is right outside the door. Am I
That,
correct?
having specifically seen this recently, the drawing, there would be no particular requirement that the door swing one direction or the other as far as left or right while you're exiting the building. I'm assuming that the door is swinging outwards in the direction of travel based on the occupancy load and so forth. So as far as particular, whether it's hinged right or left, there's no particular requirement.
Well, I was just
However-
thinking if there is a car overhanging right at that door, you're going to be walking around the door between the car
from the common sense standpoint,
Versus-
that would be a true
Just
statement.
opening the door, smashing
Yes.
the guy's front bumper and getting
Correct.
out of there.
Going along with that, going back to the conversation on the stone, the code requires that the means of egress, the exit, that you be able to access the public way, and the public way being the street. Now, it's not very specific on whether it has to be a sidewalk or the parking lot itself, because as an example, when you go to a shopping center, you get outside of the store, and you would go through the parking lot to get to the public way if you're exiting to get away from the building. So that would, from our standpoint, you probably would have to have some sort of a concrete stoop there when you exit the building as opposed to stone, but you wouldn't necessarily have to have a stone sidewalk, per se, running along the side of the building.
Just to add on to that, just so it's completely clear, each one of those man doors, there's going to be concrete, clear concrete that goes right to the parking lot, and there will be no car overhanging right where the door is. It'll be striped, cross-hatched, so that a car will not be able to park in front of that door. Just so we're
Okay,
clear.
well, that's not shown on the drawing.
Yeah,
It
but
just- it's a
when it
regular
goes in the
parking
field,
spot.
that's the way it shows, but in the field, I'm telling you, that's the way it's
Okay,
going to be.
That's fine then.
All right? Just so we're clear. Nobody's going to walk out the man door into a car.
That's interesting.
Should we add that
I was just
last
gonna ask.
piece as a condition?
Not as, well, we need to ensure that parking spot does get striped, but it's interesting that you say that, Mr. Janik, because I'm sure that's, and I don't think they had parking questions, but I'm sure that was counted at one time as a parking spot in our, in the calculations. Yes, no? Probably was.
Probably.
So I don't think we had any parking.
They're overparked for this building.
Pardon?
They're overparked for this building.
Okay. I would just like to add, actually, I would like to add a condition that if that's truly the case, then it should be in a condition for this, since we've got them before us, that spot there in front of the man door is going to be striped with no parking.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I was wondering if the code requires a bollard there actually to prevent,
No,
make sure that the door can swing and people can exit. Nope, striping is sufficient.
just no bollard
Okay.
required.
Interesting. It's an interesting side note. Okay. So we have do I hear a motion?
Did
we
you
hear the
finish that
conditions?
third condition?
The space in front of the man door in the south parking lot shall be striped as no parking.
Okay,
So move, Mr. Chairman.
second?
There's three conditions now?
Yes.
The rocks, the trees, and the parking spot. Okay.
No, the trees in the parking spot.
We have a motion by Commissioner Stidle and seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary?
I'm Commissioner Stylen, I vote no. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Doorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato?
Yes.
That's 4 yes, 1 no, and 2 absent.
Thank you. You'll have something to sign. Calling docket number PC 1223, Tin Goose Garage, 1062 South Milwaukee Avenue, site plan and appearance approval for a hangar. Ms. Jones?
Staff has no comments.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Could you please give your name to our recording secretary?
Sure.
And
Engberg Anderson, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry.
sir, thank you.
Well, thank you for hearing the project this evening. My name is Tori Schultz. I'm with Engberg Anderson. We're the architect proposing the Tin Goose Garage Hangar Complex. This is immediately east of Hangar 19, due west of Milwaukee Avenue. The hangar itself is approximately 16,000 square foot corporate aircraft hangar. Will be housing only corporate aircraft. It will not be a for lease type facility. Attached to the hangar will be a 3,000 square foot office building and additional 2,000 square feet of storage on the second level above the office. The hangar itself will be clad in a architectural precast panel. The office will be clad in a natural limestone product as well as a decorative metal panel system. The hangar will be colored, the concrete panel will be colored to be complementary to the stone panel as well, so that there will be continuity between the various products on the building. Questions?
Before we begin, just a comment. Do you have samples? I think that would be helpful if you have samples that we could have displayed if the commissioners have any questions about that.
I do.
If you could display them and tell us what each is before we get into.
Sure. Well, the stone is a little heavy to pass around. I can hold it up, or I
That's
can
fine.
fine.
That's
press
fine.
it up. We'll start with that. So this is a product that's quarried in Minnesota. It's a limestone product. It's called Kasota stone. This will be the cladding on the low landscape wall as well as the first floor of the office building. This is also the basis of the coloring for the precast panel on the hangar. Since we don't have a contractor on board yet, I was not able to procure a precast sample that would match this, but we will write the documents to require that the contractor use this as the basis of color matching the precast panel. The metal panel on the second floor is actually a combination of two different but very similar colors. Might be hard to see from where you're standing, but there are, in fact, two separate colors here. They will be mixed randomly across the facade in various widths and lengths of panel. So it will give a rather ashlar look using metal panel. Very crisp, tailored lines. It's not a corrugated metal panel like you would see on industrial buildings. It's a very common product to be used on commercial office and similar type uses.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll start with questions. Commissioner Johnson.
Should we ask staff if they have anything to add?
Well, I will eventually.
Thank you. I really have no questions. I think it's a fairly attractive building.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions at this time, but maybe I'll think of something as we go.
Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Dorban?
Thank you. One of the questions I have, it says there's no reference to the downspouts. How are you going to handle the water runoff?
The hangar does have downspouts.
Oh, because it says...
Doesn't show on the drawings just because they would be too small to show on the elevations. But just like on hangar 19 and hangar 18 that we did 2 years ago for international aviation, the hangar will have downspouts that are painted to match the the side of the building. The office building is drained internally on the roof. So there will be no downspout.
I mean, is that something we need to worry about? Because it says the plans don't indicate them. Do we need to know where they are, or?
I can tell you that there will be 4 per east and west side of the hangar. They will be connected to underground storm lines so that they won't spill out on the ground. And they'll be finished to match the appearance of the hangar.
Okay.
So we will try to camouflage those to the greatest extent
Well,
possible.
should they be noted on the plans, Brooke?
We can include that as a condition.
Okay. I think we probably do need that. The landscape plan, you obviously have an irrigation system there, and that's fine. I've looked over the landscape materials, and there's a nice mix, although I've never been a very big fan of spirea. But it is a nice mix of, deciduous as well as evergreen. Again, like the previous petitioner, we're always looking for as much green as we can get, so the more the merrier. I like the looks of the building. I like the different mixes of colors and textures, and I think it'll look very nice. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Burns?
Thank you. It does look nice. I see a couple of conditions suggested by staff about landscape irrigation.
Yes.
And are you planning to install irrigation?
Yes,
along
our
with the
landscape architect is aware of the village ordinance which requires it. It will be in the final documents sent to the contractors.
Okay. And then the trash enclosure, it's going to be cedar board with metal posts and,
Correct.
okay.
Pretty standard trash.
Okay, because those will be a couple of conditions as well. Those are my comments and questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Steilen?
I think this is going to look like a very nice building. I mean, I think you've done your homework and possibly gone above and beyond, I think, what might have been needed. And I really like the east and west side where you have, I presume it's that metal kind of
Yes.
buffer spot that goes up and then partially across the windows.
Yes.
I mean, I think that breaks up the monotony a little bit. And I was wondering if you might be able to do that same thing to the front side of the hangar. You've got the windows over on the, I guess that would be the east side of, if you might be able to go up that little sliver along the east side, and then, maybe the top row across, just to kind of add that symmetry of the 3 sides. I mean, it just add another little spark of
Interest.
difference.
I don't know if we ever considered that. It's certainly an intriguing idea. I think we'll go back and play
Take a
around with
peek.
it and take a look and see what it looks like.
Okay, I appreciate it. And the only other comment that I have, and first I have to check with Brooke, is Tower Road, is that an official village street, or is that something else? What is the status of that?
I do not know the answer.
Mark seems to...
Everything on Tower Road is actually a Milwaukee Avenue address, correct?
It's correct, and we had discussed that with the petitioner, and staff had worked and picked the address that was consistent with the rest of the properties on that street.
It's an airport-owned road, but it has Milwaukee Avenue addresses.
Okay, I mean, the reason I ask is that, we have a requirement for sidewalks on village-type streets, and, a sidewalk there along Tower Road might be nice. As a matter of fact, I see that nice little piece of property to the east of this building that hopefully someday might make a new office space for you and your staff. I think that would be a perfect addition, right? And if that ever comes into being, it'd be nice to walk down a sidewalk to visit your constituents in the area. So, again, I'd like to see a sidewalk, but I don't know if, if that is village property or, can we mandate a sidewalk on, I guess that would be, I don't even know, is it private property, it's airport property?
Well, it's Village of Wheeling and City of Prospect Heights property. There's currently no sidewalks on Tower Road, currently with the with the Signature facility, with the International Aviation facility and Hangar 19 facility. If I ever have an office here, I'm going to be walking. It's going to be on a ramp to look at aircraft. So, and generally speaking, pedestrians are not on that road to go to the airport. It's usually by cab or car or something like that.
But you probably have employees that might go out for walks and go out for lunches or walk.
No, we don't take a lunch. We work.
But again, I don't know what, Brooke, as far as the sidewalk goes, what leeway do we have in requiring a sidewalk there? Yes, no? Maybe Mark could answer the question or
I
voice a
can
comment.
answer it. This has come up numerous times before. The only real requirement for a sidewalk is when somebody subdivides property. That's when the code says sidewalks theoretically should be put in, when there's a subdivision of land. It's also when you can ask for it, but there is no requirement in the code that says, for instance, in this case, if you're building a hangar, if you're building a building, you need to provide sidewalks in front of your property. The only real requirement is when there's subdivision of land. Now, in this particular
Mark,
case...
do you want to put that permanently, that comment exactly on the record? Because I think in the past, whenever a vacant piece of property has been discussed by the Plan Commission, we have either, again, this is for village streets, we have asked for a donation to the sidewalk fund or the installation of a sidewalk, and I have never ever heard the statement that only when a piece of property is subdivided are sidewalks required to be installed.
Well, we can bring back the same document that was provided by our attorneys. I know it was provided not too long ago. We can bring that out again next meeting if you want. Brooke can bring that out, but as far as I know, it doesn't have to do with vacant land. It doesn't have to do with a new building. The Planning Commission has asked for it in the past and perhaps gotten that, but as far as I know, code doesn't say just because a piece of land is vacant and it's going to be built on, that sidewalks required. But we can get out the attorney's opinion, which has been provided before, and provide it to you guys again.
Then maybe we should ask to table this discussion until we can get a determination by the lawyer if we, I'm not even sure whose property this is, Mark. Is this
Airport
indeed
property. It's owned by the airport. This gentleman here is building a building on airport property. He's going to lease the property from the airport.
Okay, and it is not a village street?
Is not what it's. The airport is co-owned by the village and by the city of Prospect Heights. So, do we own the road? It's controlled by the airport. The airport is owned both by Wheeling and Prospect Heights.
The airport maintains the road, not the village. The airport plows the road, not the village. But it's the Village of Wheeling and the City of Prospect Heights that's land.
Well, I'd like to. I would really just like to know officially from the lawyer if what the prospects are for getting a sidewalk installed, and I hate to delay a decision on this. Would it be possible to approve the docket tonight, Brooke, with a condition that the lawyer would come back with a statement about the...
Mr. Stylen,
yes.
just for clarification, where are you talking about a sidewalk? All along Tower Road? From the building to Milwaukee Avenue?
On the property that is shown on the landscape plan for that building, by the parking spaces on, I presume those parking spaces will be used by this building.
That's correct.
You know, so I'd like to see a sidewalk there, and hopefully if we ever get sidewalks on Milwaukee Avenue, like a few months ago, we asked a petitioner to put sidewalks down by Industrial Lane. Clearly, that's village property. So I'd approve the plans with the condition that a decision by the village attorney on the sidewalk issue.
And that opinion would be whether or not they are required to put a sidewalk in because they're building a new building? Is that what the question is for the attorney?
If the Plan Commission could ask to have a sidewalk installed.
Well, you can always ask for a sidewalk. It's whether or not the petitioner wants to provide it.
Or a donation to the sidewalk fund, either way.
You can always ask for it. I mean, there's no question about that.
Did we?
You guys can ask for it. You haven't asked for it before on other hangars, I don't believe. But you can always ask for it. There's no question about that.
Well, it's one or the other. A sidewalk be installed or a donation to the sidewalk fund if the lawyer says it's appropriate for that type of action on this particular property. I have my doubts because it doesn't appear to be a village road, but...
Did we ask for it from International Aviation?
No.
Did they donate to the sidewalk fund or anything? Because looking at the aerial view, there's no sidewalks there.
I don't know.
I don't think we did.
Chairman.
Yes.
Chairman?
Could you give your name? Thank you.
My name is Al Palicki. I work Palicki. I work with Signature Flight Support at Chicago Executive Airport, 1100 South Milwaukee. And it's kind of a precedent here because we've never had the sidewalk issue brought up, whether it was for Hangar 19 just a year or so ago or the FBO 5 years ago. It's kind of a new issue to us. We're not sure a sidewalk going to where. So if Mark asked the question, if I may ask, if we could come up with what is the stipend to be donated to the sidewalk fund, we'd appreciate it. We also have a little issue, and I'm speaking on a turn, with the easement. You know, you add a sidewalk there. We only have so much airport to put this building in the ramp. So pushing it farther onto the airport may not help with the building plans for that area in the future. So just a couple things to think about.
Thank you.
The green space between the parking lot and the Tower Road is a utility corridor. So if there would be a sidewalk, it'd be right on top of the utility corridor.
We do that all the time. Mark or Brooke, do you know what the current cost per foot of a sidewalk is?
$10 a square foot. That's according to our code, whether or not it costs that much to build in certain areas or less. But right now, it's $10 a square foot.
If we get a truer number on that, that would help us quite a bit. I got 10.
Mr. Chairman, we don't have a
total.
consensus.
Yeah. Right. Before, Commissioner Stylen, do you have any other questions or comments?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and I just have, I had one question, I can't find it. So, and just for clarification, in the report, it's the office portion of the building is constructed with stone cladding, and that's that. Is that a common term, stone cladding?
Yes.
So how is that affixed to the building?
It uses stone anchors, which are stainless steel bent fabrications manufactured by a variety of stone anchoring manufacturers. Those are slotted into the stone panels and then tied back with fasteners to the wall behind.
Okay, all right. It's got to be some pretty heavy fasteners, pretty heavy-duty fasteners for that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious because I'd never seen the term stone cladding before, so it's really a nice building. And then just a general question, what is the significance of Tin Goose Garage?
The Tin Goose was the nickname for a Ford Trimotor airplane that was flown predominantly in the 1930s. The owner of the facility has a family history with that aircraft.
Oh, really?
Flew one back in the day. So it became the moniker for the new project. So
great. Okay, great. Thank you. Staff, any comments on anything in general? Ron?
As far as the fire department staff comments, they were presented. They're part of your packet. Most of them are pretty much boilerplate reminders for items that need to be addressed when the plans come in for construction. There was a meeting earlier this week with staff and representatives from the petitioner, and they did modify some of the water main issues and tweak those a little bit to address the needs of the department. So I think they're in pretty good shape.
Great. Mr. Janik, anything?
Same thing for engineering. There was discussions this week, all week, about the engineering, and they're right there. There's a couple of small issues relative to the sanitary sewer, but we're satisfied that they're far enough along.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. The last thing I have is the question about the sidewalk. I'm looking for consensus there, and there are a number of questions there. I'm not, me as a commissioner, I'm not willing to hold this up on a question of a sidewalk, whether a sidewalk is required or not, but or whether there has to go to a fund based upon this. But what I would like to have is as a consensus, if we need to investigate the sidewalk further as to whether a sidewalk is required for this property or a contribution to the sidewalk fund in this case. So that's the question on the table right now, is do we have staff look into this further as to whether a sidewalk is required for this property based upon its location within the airport and the maintenance of Tower Drive, and or do we investigate whether it's required, and if it's required, whether we go with a contribution to the sidewalk fund or the actual sidewalk. So, Mr. Burns, Commissioner Burns.
Okay, I'd like to comment on that before answering. If a sidewalk or a contribution is required per code, then that's going to happen, right? It's not something that we'd have to vote on, but assuming that's not the case, that the code doesn't require it, I'm in favor of this project without a sidewalk on Tower Road.
Well, with that, though, it requires some type of investigation, because it seems that it's not, I'm looking at it from a requirement standpoint that we require sidewalks in certain types of, when we have new construction. And in this situation, the way I'm interpreting that is it's on airport property, though it's owned by the village and the city of Prospect Heights. This question has never come up before.
We've had similar discussions with Caps Plumbing in an industrial area where there were no existing sidewalks. The auto repair Dent Busters that was going to move in on Industrial Lane, we had a discussion about sidewalks with them. Now the details and the occupancies are different.
They're different.
But seems to me if it's required, again, that's black and white and it's going to get done. And staff will make sure that they build their sidewalk or make their contribution. But if you're asking Commissioner Burns, do I think this project on Tower Road needs a sidewalk, or should we ask for a contribution to the sidewalk fund? No.
Just let to interject just for a second. It was a good point by Mr. Burns. The industrial lane recent project, that was a subdivision of land. It was 2 lots there. That was a requirement of the sidewalk because it was a subdivision of land. There was a use in the front. They were going to subdivide and have a auto repair in the back. That was a subdivision of land. That's when the sidewalks came in for a requirement. That's why we talked about having sidewalks on Milwaukee Avenue instead of putting them on industrial lane. Maybe put it on industrial or put it on Milwaukee from the bus stop to industrial lane. Just a little point of factor. That's why that came up then.
Commissioner Johnson.
Unless it's determined to be required by code, I don't see a need for a sidewalk here.
Okay. Commissioner Dorban.
I would have to say if it's required, then we go by what code says. If it's not, then we don't.
Commissioner Steilen.
I think that question should be investigated, yes.
Yes.
And I'm of the opinion that I think this should be investigated further because we're going to we could have other building on this property, and it might not even be another hangar, but I'm sure there'll be another hangar, and I think it should be investigated further. Whether that requires a condition of this, again, if we find that it's a sidewalk and or a contribution is required, then it's required, and it would be we wouldn't need a condition because it's required. So I'm reluctant to put a condition in there.
How about just a note
I just don't want to see
informing the
this.
petitioner of that?
I mean, are we going to approve this tonight? Because I would not want to see this held up because we're investigating another piece of this.
And
We'll find out tomorrow whether or not this requires sidewalk. No problem.
Brooke, can we somehow put a note?
Sure.
Great, thank you. I'm going to put a note to that. Okay. Wait till you're done typing diligently. You want to tell us what you wrote there?
I wrote a note that staff shall investigate the requirement for sidewalk installation or donation to sidewalk fund.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other conditions?
We have 2 conditions that were stated in the staff report. That they are that landscape irrigation shall be provided in accordance with the code, and 2, that the trash enclosure shall be constructed using cedar boards on a steel frame with gates mounted to separate posts. And a 3rd condition was discussed this evening, that the exterior downspouts shall be painted to match the building facade.
And, Mr. Chairman, should the petitioner desire to put some additional decorative trim along the front and across the top to match the east and west side, can we approve that change rather than having to have the petitioner come back before us? I don't know if that would be a condition or, again, just another note that it would be acceptable to allow the petitioner to add that, would you call it decoration or?
It's a metal panel.
Metal panel?
I would see, I would put it as a condition to work with staff to see if the metal panel is appropriate. Yeah, I'm not holding it up for that either.
would hope they would have that in the
Yeah.
airport
Oh, I hope
area.
so. I didn't see it. What did I read about the air conditioning and stuff? Oh, an extra trash enclosure.
Ready? Don't worry, just take your time.
While there's a lull in the activities, I just want to say thank you for your landscaping and all the landscaping information that you provided. I think that was an exceptional packet. So.
Thank you. I'll pass word along to the landscape architect.
Do we have a motion for docket PC 1223?
So moved.
Did we get the exact wording on that last condition?
Petitioner may work with staff if petitioner desires to add more decorative metal panels to building hangar facade.
Sounds good.
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Commissioner Dorband, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Stylen.
Commissioner Dorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
I'm Commissioner Stylen. I vote yes. Acting Chairman Rafato?
Yes.
That's 5 yes with 2 absent.
Thank you.
You'll have something to sign. Thank you. It's a very nice building.
Thank you.
And when do you think you might be operational in it?
Operational within the building. Early summer next year.
Wow.
We're hoping for another light winter like last year with minimal days of snow, so we can build
Good luck.
through the winter.
Good luck. It's a really nice looking building too.
Thank you.
That's the only bad thing about this.
Thank you. Moving on, approval of minutes of September 6, 2012.
So
So
moved.
move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next is other business, Ms. Jones. Yes. Yep.
It was brought to staff's attention that Chief McIsaac has spoke with a couple of commissioners regarding a possible future tour with the fire department around town. And if you're interested in that, we'd like to know if you want to do that in the very near future, or if, since we just conducted our tour last week, if you'd rather wait until next year, until next either summer or early fall when we conduct our next tour.
So, and this is a tour of sites where the fire department might have to go and, you know, turn lanes, looking at different turn lanes, things like that, developments. That's what we would be reviewing. So the question, there's actually two questions. One is the preference, should we do it now or combine it with our tour for next year? That's the first question. So, question number one. So, because the second question will be dependent upon the answer to the first one. So, Commissioner Burns, would you like to have that now in the fall, or we wait until our next tour?
Next tour.
Commissioner Johnson?
Next tour.
Commissioner Steilen?
If I might just make a comment that I wish these microphones were working, that the reason the first tour came up was a recommendation by the fire chief at the last village plan commission get-together meeting, and somehow the fire chief got involved in the process of the tour late, and last Monday at the village board meeting, the chief and I talked, and he said there's still a couple, 5 to 8 pieces of property that he would like us to take a look at, he'd like to discuss with us, and suggested that, they're completely different than the tour that we were on, and that, because the daylight hours are getting lean, we talked about the possibility of a Saturday morning
And that's the
tour.
question.
That was tour question number 2.
That's question number 2, depending upon question number 1 as to whether we feel that we should do it now or wait until next summer where we can do it at night when we have when it's daylight for longer.
Right. So I think it's a little bit unfair to ask whether we should do it now or not.
Okay, I'll rephrase that. Okay, because of the shorter days, shorter daylight, is it something that we would want, either way, irrespective of that, is it something that we immediately want to immediately look at now or wait until next year? Really doesn't matter day or night, because if we want to do it now, then the question comes up whether it would probably have to be a Saturday. So, and if people want to do it now, then we'll look at that. So that's the question. Should we delay it until next time? You said next time. You said next time.
Well, we didn't talk Saturdays at that point, but
It would be a Saturday.
Saturday morning kind of thing. Yeah, if it's important enough to the chief, then we can do it sooner if everyone's available on a Saturday.
Commissioner Burns?
If the fire chief wants to go out with us and take a look at these properties, then, yeah, I would.
Is it
be able
possible
to do
is it possible for them to present something to us at one of our workshops? Or do we have to see this in person? I'm just asking.
Having been somebody who was on the last tour in the fire truck, going around, looking at different areas, it is very beneficial to do it in the fire truck because you now get a feel of where you are, the tightness of an area, what it takes them to maneuver in and out of an area. So I think it's really beneficial. It's not telling somebody or showing us pictures isn't the same as being there.
Okay. Commissioner Steilen, and that's a very valid point. Thank you. These 5 to 8 properties, are they new properties or are they existing properties that?
Mike, do you have any idea? Did the chief talk to you at all about?
Why wasn't this?
He didn't talk to me. He might have talked to the fire inspector about it. Didn't talk to me about it, though.
No, I was not.
Yeah, he rattled off a list of properties. I know there was something on Sutton Court that he wanted to talk about and some other things.
Did you talk about future properties?
No, I think he was talking about already things that we've done.
That we've approved with their approval. I guess is where I'm coming from.
But I'm saying that if you're there and you're seeing what they have to do to get in and out, it gives you a completely different perspective. You know, we can say, oh, is there enough turning radius? Oh, can they get around the building? we can say all those things and we can hear all of it, but seeing it is very different.
Okay,
And my answer is, if the fire chief would like to talk to us, I'm more than happy to
Yeah.
listen, so.
that's fine. So, okay, what is, and I'll ask the next question. So start thinking about what Saturdays in the next couple of months that we have. So I'll be coming to that. But since you talked to the police chief, fire chief, what is the purpose?
He wanted to show us some things that we did right and some things that maybe could have been improved had we known a little bit more about the details and had they known a little bit more about the details.
So it's really, if it's really more of what the fire department know for details, because when I get when we have a subdivision come before us or something come before us, I'm depending upon the fire department to tell us that. So if what he's saying is that we need more information going into a new build, then yeah, I can completely see that. I
think one of the things that he said was that, you know, the more informed the plan commission is, like Mike. I mean, you're pretty up on the fire department stuff. So when their recommendations come in, you know, whether they be subtle recommendations or whatever, that we're aware of them and understand some of the impacts and maybe can see the reasons a little bit more, because we have now experienced some of the stuff, just like Pam said, having experienced getting stuck in her subdivision, we now understand, I think, a little bit better reasons for street widths and no parking requirements on some of the streets, and turning radiuses and cul-de-sacs. You know, once you've been there, you understand why there's a necessity.
I mean, I think in terms of, you know, there's some places that we have agreed to, but thinking back on it, would I do it the same way? One of them is Ginger Court. You know, to get a truck back there and to get apparatus back there, to get around those buildings is really tough. Even in my complex, it's bigger than a lot, but to get behind some of those units could be a real issue to get those fire hoses through there.
Okay, good. But they're all very valid points. I was just trying to get to some of the background for this session. So since we don't have Commissioner Schaaf and Chairman Maloney here, what I would suggest we do is that by Monday, if the commissioners could send 2 dates in September, well, September's almost over.
Yeah.
In October, 2 Saturdays in October that you will be available for this. Please send that to Mr. Jennings and Brooke. Can I send out a reminder to everybody?
We can.
You can?
We'll
Okay.
send one tomorrow.
So then they have some input into it also. Okay? Great, thank you. Moving, still on other business, Commissioner Burns?
Well, I just think it's interesting that even though I retired from the fire department, the chief is still making me go to meetings.
Mike, I didn't hear that.
Even though I retired from the fire department, the chief is still making me go to meetings that he called. But no, I'll be happy to do it. That's all
Commissioner
I got.
Johnson?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Dorban?
I had reported this to Andrew, but I wanted to follow up to find out if Brooke knew if anybody had been contacted regarding the graffiti on the fence along 83 along McHenry Road at 83 in Colonial. It looked to me like somebody
I can answer that.
cleaning it up today, but I'm not sure.
Yes, I believe today the graffiti was being dealt with.
Okay. And the other question is, do we know anything about what happened to the sign at Lexington and McHenry? It's been down for several weeks. I assume a car or a truck hit it, but I'm surprised they hadn't put it back up.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know
Northeast
about
corner.
this.
Monument signs keeled over.
It's Lexington at McHenry. In the subdivision right there, as you, on the, would be the east side.
Probably a school bus.
Okay.
They didn't do enough damage.
Anything else, Commissioner?
Nope, thank you.
Commissioner Steinle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one thing that may branch into two, but the crazy for office space for rent sign at Advanced Auto has been removed. Thank you, Mark. And just to let you know, if you haven't watched Monday's village board meeting, I believe the village board directed that the Plan Commission should take another look at the, what was the word for it? The exempt sign code to see if we might be able to adjust it a little to give Mark a little more, community development a little more flexibility in being able to handle those types of signs in the future. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. My only comment, and it's nothing in the village, nothing related to any activities in the village, but if everybody saw the article the other day about the Twin Peaks restaurant opening, I found it disappointing that they focused on just one item of the article instead of focusing on increased sales tax, having 145 additional jobs in the village that we didn't have before. I found that extremely disappointed, and I felt that the Daily Herald did that for one reason, was to just generate some dialogue and negative dialogue for the village. And it was very unfortunate that it was that focus instead of welcoming a restaurant into the village and 145 jobs, which I think he said 45 to 50 were full-time. So those are big numbers. Those were big numbers. And I would assume that a lot of the employees are going to be very, very local. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.